Good morning. The headlines. Irish shock jock Gerard Gilroy has come under further fire from another supporters group this week following brash remarks on sports breakfast programme OTB AM. After England support groups mounted pressure on Mr Gilroy last week, South African rugby fans have this week revealed that they too feel personally victimised by this particular broadcast host. In response to broadcasted talks between Mr Gilroy and Keith Wood about the challenges facing this British and Irish Lions tour to South Africa, YouTube commentator Stuart Cryer weighed in on the subject. He said, "Keith Wood's commentary is impartial and insightful, not attempting to make assertions on topics he doesn't fully understand, but offers meaningful opinions and analysis. The main interviewer, however, is quite clearly biased and bitter. Every utterance is tainted and misinformed. Although the political situation within South Africa, my country, is grim and saddening, it is not helped by a man making aspersions about the future of the British and Irish Lions tour from a point of very little understanding. We as South Africans need not your disdain for our rugby style, nor your belittling attitude towards our complicated and nuanced cultural/political issues." Pelican Pants, meanwhile, stated, "Ger hates the box and is still salty about them winning the Rugby World Cup. This makes for a poor presenter." In contrast, Keith Wood gives an excellent unbiased analysis, very astute and high rugby IQ. A statement was also quickly forthcoming from Hooper, who issued the following question. "Ger, what is your problem with South Africa? Honestly, every time there is a discussion re South African rugby, you without fail inject some form of obscure negativity into the conversation. I'm surprised this convo didn't evolve into another discussion about systemic doping in South African rugby."
I missed it. I should have.
At least Keith Wood was there to provide some actual thoughtful analysis.
I can't believe I forgot to play the hits.
You forgot to play the hits. Our lads, though, got to the nub of the issue later, saying he thinks they're a bunch of meatheads, the Joe Rogan of rugby. Hooper is not some blow-in to YouTube comments, however. In the aftermath of the World Cup final, Hooper then too outlined his displeasure at the broadcasting display from the Joe Rogan of rugby. "I can't believe my ears. What utter disrespect and negativity following what was a deserved end to a fantastic tournament. I'm speaking specifically remarks made by Ger Gilroy. Shame on you." Alan and Louise actually had some good analysis of the final. Craig Wiedemann concurred. He stated, "Alan is usually great. Disappointed that he's allowed himself to be associated with those other two clowns, Ger and Eoin." There was an outbreak of pedantry back in the Keith Wood comments, however. Toby Hart said, "Keith Woods is my favourite British and Irish analyst. He brings a non-partisan and balanced perspective to the table, not anti-box, very fair and level-headed, and understands the pack nuances way better than others." Harrison Cray, however, launched an angry riposte. "Hi Toby, you can say that. Keith Woods is your favourite British and Irish Lions analyst, or that he is your favourite Irish analyst. He cannot be a British and Irish analyst because he is Irish and he is not British. It is confusing for many non-native speakers, but important to get right, nonetheless." However, South African rugby YouTube correspondent Hooper was quick on the scene, saying, at Harrison Cray, "He's analysing the British and Irish Lions, is he not? As such, he's a British and Irish rugby analyst. Nice try, loser." Elsewhere in the Keith Wood comments...
So hang on. Hooper is calling for nuance when it comes to the what was it? Confusing? What was his sophisticated? What was his reference to the difficulty that South Africa cultural history has, but like is willing to show none to anybody else?
Well, exactly.
I'm not calling rank hypocrisy, apart from saying that it's rank hypocrisy.
Elsewhere in the Keith Wood comments, Dion took issue with both hosts, saying, "These are the same two guys who predicted a blowout against Wales in the Six Nations." And No More Living in Fear raised eyebrows when he commented, "By the way, we are listening to people who brought Brexit upon themselves. Stupids." In other news, there were further stinging critiques of other OTB presenters.
He's talking about the Welsh, right?
No, he's talking about us. In other news, there were further stinging critiques of other OTB presenters in the last week. On last week's crappy quiz, Mr Hungry Eyes delivered his review of Nathan Murphy's broadcasting capabilities. He said, "Nathan really is insufferable." Tommy McGuinty weighed in on the discussion by saying, "Pat Kenny wannabe." And he concluded his thoughts by saying, "And bless Eoin, but I think he'd struggle bringing bottled water onto the pitch." Lastly, on last week's constructive criticism video, YouTuber Ush Bosch stated, "That boy Eoin could do with a new voice." The statement is said to come as a particularly hurtful one to that boy Eoin, who is known to be a long-time follower of DJ Ush Bosch. Some of his favourite Ush Bosch YouTube uploads include Ush Bosch live at Skullvera Buncrana Formal 2020 and Nathan Carter Wagon Wheel Hush Bosh dance remix. They say to never meet your heroes because chances are they have abused you in your own YouTube comments. Those are the headlines for this week. Thank you for joining us.
The tag of being a little bit out there because of the social media sort of thing.
I haven't had that proper chance to understand what the rationale was.
Don't give me none of that banter, man. I'm here to talk serious football.
Right, some of the other comments that are coming in at the moment. Walter says, it's incredible how parochial this show is. Rather than discuss the best BIL team, British Irish Lions team, they fall back on making the case for Irish players. Are we bad Lions, Eoin? Do we just follow the tour in a way that's different to English fans? As an Irish fan, is it hard to watch the English-style coverage of the team and the pomp surrounding the Lions? Is there anything that, sticks in our craw about the British and Irish Lions?
We're just different, aren't we? It's everybody's got a different prism for the British and Irish Lions experience. I guess ours is. I think they're probably onto something. I definitely think that is a huge part of the build-up. Not necessarily what the makeup of the squad will be, but specifically how many Irish players are going to be in the squad.
Yeah, duh. Duh. We're interested in the things we're interested in because it's our players. Duh. What? Am I missing this?
There's nothing wrong with that. Just because somebody pointed it out angrily in the YouTube comments doesn't necessarily make it wrong.
Dan says, did I hear the interviewer right? He wonders what the value of the Lions is these days. That's the stupidest opinion I've ever heard. The Lions are brilliant, great entertainment, and the rugby pinnacle for the home nations, players and fans. Don't know what planet that Irish lad is on.
This was you the other day in the conversation with Matt Williams.
Yeah, I was making the point that there was a tweet doing the rounds that showed the amazing try that France scored that went the length of the field against Australia, pointing out that France are really benefiting from the fact that they have the opportunity to pick a team and go and travel and go on tour and bed things down. And I was like, I definitely see the benefit of that. But equally, I can see the benefit of our players going and stealing ideas from some of the best coaches. I just hope we don't get drawn into a draining forwards mauling contest as the same, Dan, and use possession to create some magic in midfield. In all but the South Africa A game, we've been able to open them up by going wide with some smart handling and running lines. Let's hope South Africa don't smash us in every tackle and we stay committed to a bold attacking game winning possession. Just don't hold on to it long in the forwards and try to maul and ruck our way to the line, because that'll be a losing battle. And Russell says, so you moan about Schmidt for 2 or 3 years relying on people who've done it for him in the past and how he should be going with new blood, foreign players, and now you reckon Gatland should be selecting Murray because he was good 4 years ago, and Sexton should play for the Lions but not Ireland because, lads, he's ancient now. Come on, we need to move on. Maybe you should pick a lane and try staying in it. Stay in your lane.
I do think that's different. That is quite different. The conversation on Conor Murray came from the place that Conor Murray was selected by Warren Gatland to be the tour captain for this year.
Yes.
It is not based. This is based on Warren Gatland seeing something in him and the suspicion that maybe he would have gone with the guy who he thought might have been his tour captain in the absence of Alan Jones.
Yeah. Yeah, so all of that was... And also, you have to say that Sexton, as a 15 to 20-minute player coming off the bench, is more than likely better than the kid who's played one international game has some experience of what the pressure might be like in the second test when this might be required, or the third test when it might be required. In Soccer, Martin says, what's going on in Liverpool is getting beyond a joke. I'm a big Liverpool fan, but these owners are so tight when it comes to money and spending. We will be left behind the pack if they don't step up, and they will lose Klopp also. Will Klopp go if Jordan Henderson doesn't get the new deal he requires? Or will they just make Henderson play out this year and then... Actually, by not giving him a massive new contract, did they, in a weird way, allow him to go free the following season? So bear in mind, it's 2 years before, it's 18 months before you'll be able to negotiate a pre-contract agreement with Paris Saint-Germain or Real Madrid or Juventus or Inter or somebody else who will actually give him another massive life-changing contract. I don't know. Is it a disaster?
Well, I think if Jurgen Klopp is questioning his future at the club, it's a disaster. And if you're pushing people out the door in a way you don't want to do, it is an absolute disaster for Liverpool. And obviously what we've seen here is that he didn't necessarily want Wijnaldum to go over the course of the summer. You have 2 Wijnaldum situations, all of a sudden you've got a bit of a problem. I think anybody can be forgiven for letting a player go in these circumstances, but if the manager wants to keep these players and all of a sudden they're leaving...
Well, the only thing is that if you So Henderson's a year older than Wijnaldum, and they let Wijnaldum go because they felt like paying him the money for the next 3 seasons might not be the best use of that resources. You always want to be a season early rather than a season late with paying players, was one of Bill Walsh from the San Francisco 49ers. That was one of his maxims. Let them go a year early rather than a year late, because that means you're not clogging up the opportunity for somebody else. You're not paying twice for what wasn't actually worth it in that place. How do you're saying it's a different case for Henderson because he's the captain and the leadership is important? Bear in mind, he's starting to pick up some injuries.
Is there a case to be made that in football you can do a throw money at a problem move more easily than you can in the NFL without a salary cap, for example? And you can say, well, just in case this guy turns out to be absolutely evergreen and goes on until 35 being an exceptional on-pitch leader, and then we may as well just keep everybody sweet here, because, like, unless what Henderson is asking for is extraordinary and he is looking for a proper pay increase, then maybe not. Now, the thing is, he may not be looking for an increase at all. He may be looking for similar wages, just an extension to the contract. Maybe Liverpool don't see him going beyond the current deal, especially in and around those wages, given Liverpool aren't going to be able to, like, Liverpool aren't paying extraordinary money to that sort of player at the moment. They aren't a Manchester City who do that on the regular. So, or Manchester United probably more to the point. So you can see where they're coming from if Henderson is looking for that sort of thing. But at the same time, your best asset is Jurgen Klopp. There's no getting away from that. And if Jurgen Klopp asks for something and he believes that this guy should be given a new contract, I think you kind of bow to your manager.
Yeah, so we'll see if that power structure or power struggle actually exists. New Holland, I'm not sure if we're missing an N, says, fluky or bizarre season for Man United to win the league. What is Gilroy smoking? This could be our team next season. Hendo, Wan-Bissaka, Varane, Maguire, Shaw, McTominay, Pogba, Rashford, Bruno, Sancho, Cavani. We should be expected to challenge for the title with this team. If we don't, it's a failure. We could also sign an additional midfielder and maybe Trippier too. I mean, you could sign an additional midfielder. You could sign Trippier and maybe the Varane deal gets done. But as it stands, that's not your team. And, like, is Cavani going to play every minute of every league game? Is Jadon Sancho guaranteed to be a success immediately? Is Bruno's form going to come back straight away? Where's Rashford playing in that team? So your midfield is McTominay, Pogba and Bruno. Is it? Is that going to be great in all those big games? I'm not sure.
I'm a big fan of these. This is what our team is going to look like things. Like, I saw one on Twitter yesterday and it was like, Aston Villa's attack next year, Emi Buendia, Jack Grealish and Leon Bailey. And I'm like, what? I'm like, God, I mean, the vaccine has clearly, like, knocked a lot of brain cells out of my head immediately. I'm like, the Leon Bailey to Aston Villa transfer is something that I completely missed. And then I Googled it and it was like, Aston Villa transfer latest, Bayer Leverkusen's Leon Bailey wanted by villains. So if you're saying that you're putting a player into your team because they're wanted by the club, then you can't have Jack Grealish in that lineup because he's wanted by Manchester City. So you've got to change the way you're looking at it. Now, in fairness to Manchester United, it's a bit of a different situation. None of those players are likely to leave the club at that point.
Pogba might. I think there's a reasonable 50-50 chance.
Good point, actually. Pogba's perfect example.
Rashford's probably not going to play before October.
Yeah, not going to play before October.
If he gets the
there,
surgery,
obviously.
I think that has to all be sorted out just yet. Yeah, it's like let's just cool the jets. Let's just cool the jets. I think that this Manchester United team to go toe to toe with both Liverpool and City and potentially Chelsea, or maybe it's with both Chelsea and City and potentially Liverpool. Let's wait and see. Hurling chat. Sean says James Skehill is a brilliant addition to OTB. His analysis and general commentary on hurling are excellent. I think there's uniform consensus about this. We've never had consensus about anything that's ever happened, apart from maybe Tommy Walsh before. And this is it. It's like James Skehill is a brilliant addition to OTB. His analysis and general commentary on hurling are excellent. If you missed yesterday, we did 35 minutes and we covered a load of ground. And we also planted the seed for more ground to come back and cover in future editions of the show as well. So it's going to be a fixture for the rest of the hurling season and hopefully beyond that too.
Yeah, he's great. He's just unbelievably passionate and knowledgeable about the game, and just has like a really natural opinion on everything.
And right so far about almost everything. Yeah. It's like, this is going to happen, this is going to happen, this is going to happen, this is going to happen. You're like, okay, that did happen, that did happen, that did happen. Wow, that's that record's pretty good so far. And then Thomas in the power ranking says, Kildare beating Meath in a big league promotion game last time out and still in the championship. Madness, Kildare not being ahead of them. Madness, I tell you.
Do you concur?
Madness, I tell you. I think Kildare are ahead of Meath. What can I say? I mean, if it's a 7-point defeat for Kildare against Dublin in the Leinster final in 2 weeks' time, or anything bigger than 6 points? Are you going to go, I told you? Or are you actually going to go, well, when those two teams last played in the big game, it was really important. Ultimately, Division 1 football is all that matters for those teams who are trying to latch on somewhere to the coattails of this Dublin side.
Yeah, like, well, no, I don't.
And they did it without Daniel Flynn, by the way.
They did do that, but without Daniel Flynn. It obviously depends on the magnitude of the defeat. If it's a completely different showing than the one Meath put up against Dublin, then obviously you take that into account. But yeah, maybe there was a case we made that Kildare were in a better place than Meath. Like I do think that Meath were
first little crack in the power rankings armory is here, where you've admitted you were wrong. Apology accepted. The County of Kildare accepts your humble apology, and in the spirit of openness and transparency, we have a Kerry manager. You're from Kerry. We should extend the law of whatever the Irish phrase for hand of friendship is.
Yeah, law of Carja.
You're accepting it. Kildare ahead of Meath. You're correcting midweek.
No,
midweek you're correcting the power rankings.
I'm just saying that I'm just tickling the belly of all our Kildare Lilywhites this morning. It's like there's a case to be made, of course. I can see why you would comment that, and I can see why you would take the time out of your day to scroll down to the YouTube comments and type that in and click send. I can see why you did that, but I just don't particularly agree with that, and I wouldn't take that to its nth to the end degree that, and I wouldn't put them ahead of me just yet.
9 minutes past 8 this morning here on OTB AM.